Well, good afternoon, guys. On this October 1st, I am heading up Red Pine Lake Trail today. And although it's definitely well into autumn now and I won't be seeing that many easily identifiable wildflowers, I still want to make a video just so I can, if nothing else, get some more practice and not lose experience over the winter season. So let's just see what we can find. So as you can see here, the forest is already definitely changing color. I mean, we are at about 8,000 feet up, which should be like 2,600 meters or 2,000, I don't know exactly what it is in meters, but the point is we're fairly high up right now. And as a result of that, even though it's just the beginning of autumn by most people's reckoning, it's fairly well into the autumn season at this elevation. So the aspens are all turning yellow now. A lot of the other plants are. I guess those aspens aren't, but you know what I mean. Yeah, of course the quaking aspen here, scientific name is Populus tremuloides, since I try to make that a feature of my channel. Not to rip off the crime pays with Botany Doesn't guy, but I just really like them, and you need to report the scientific name to keep everything consistent. And this is going to be a really boring video. Other dominant trees around here appear to be the Alpine Fir, Abies, lasiocarpa. One interesting thing to note is that while most of the really tall quaking aspens around here have already turned yellow, a lot of the small ones are still green in leaf. I think that might have to do something with perhaps the younger trees being genetically coded to stay green for longer into the cold season to photosynthesize more, store more energy for the year, really help them establish more securely and risk damage to their leaves, which they're going to fall off anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter that much. Okay, getting a little higher up, I found a few species I can fairly easily identify. This plant with the red leaves is Physocarpus malvaceus, commonly known as Mallow Ninebark. It is a member of the rose family. Its leaves seem to turn typically a yellow or reddish color like this. And this evergreen plant is mountain lover, also known as, I forgot what it's called, Paxistima myrsinites, that's what it is. It's a little hard to see, so I'm going to zoom in a bit. That plant, both classic shrubs of the mountain forest in the Wasatch and other parts of the Rocky Mountains. Probably two of the most common actually, along with the snowberries. Really got to practice keeping everything in focus and adjusting a white balance and speaking and hiking and zooming at the same time and keeping my hands steady. There's a lot of things that go into making these videos, so if they look like crap a lot of the time, trust me, it's a bit of a production trying to do this. And I've gotten better. I can do a lot of clips in a lot less takes than it used to for me. Oh yeah, and I got to focus on not breathing too heavily as I hike, which really is difficult because I need to work on my cardio some. This is Sorbus scopulina, another member of the rose family. The genus Sorbus is typically called or referred to as rowans. They have pinnately compound leaves that are oppositely arranged. That's how you can help tell them apart from the other species known for having pinnately compound leaves, or genus I should say, Sambucus, the elderberries. They seem to turn a yellowish to actually rusty orange color with age. I've seen a lot that just seem to be very yellow. Got a lot behind us too. Very cool species, and I think, like most rose family members, the berries are edible, but don't quote me on that. They probably aren't very good anyways either. Now here's a more tricky one. Well, it would be tricky if I focus on those ones that are yellow and starting to wilt, as opposed to these specimens of Thalictrum Fendleri, a species in the family Ranunculaceae. So naturally it's going to be fairly toxic most likely. So the reason why I sometimes see me zoom in and then the focus adjusts is because it makes it a lot easier to get a very precise adjustment on the focus. I'm at 800 ISO right now. I just want you guys to know this production, these videos I make are really a lot more complicated and difficult than it might seem. So please go easy on me sometimes. I'm trying my best, and I think I'm improving. But let's carry on now. This is a really pleasant view, I think. Here's where the Maybird Gulch Trail splits off of Red Pine Lake. I tried hiking it once, but I didn't seem to be able to get very far before it just ended. And now the bridge. This is 4 years ago I tried it. The bridge has definitely seen some better days. I tried walking out, but I think it might slip really bad. So now at about 9,300 feet up, I'm in a forest dominated almost entirely by Picea engelmannii, the Engelmann Spruce, and the aforementioned Abies lasiocarpa, the Alpine Fir. So very little understory plants, and they all seem to be primarily one species, which I think is actually Eucephalus engelmannii as well. Got two dominant engelmannii in this forest, but either way, that's obviously a member of the Aster family, sunflower family, whatever family you want to call it. If you know, you know. But yeah, I guess the conifer duff is making it really hard to let other plants grow here. It's suppressing most other plants that could be growing in the understory, like in deciduous forests, like those dominated by the Quaking Aspen around here. I think we're well above the elevation we're going to find thick growths of that tree. Once again forgotten to... Oh, here you go. Sambucus, must be Sambucus racemosa. Yeah, it's clearly a raceme type infrutescence. But that's also one you find at higher elevations as opposed to Sambucus cerulea, which is found at lower elevations and has a cymose inflorescence. I think it's a cyme at least, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it is because I haven't learned my inflorescence terms yet. Kind of embarrassing, right? Let's keep going. We're getting close to the top. That's a clearly unidentifiable lupine species. Most likely Sericeus or Argentium, or whatever it could likely be. But they're all very difficult to tell apart, so it's honestly not even worth trying most of the time. I've never been able to get so close to these types of birds without them flapping away vigorously and scaring the crap out of me. Just about 15 feet away. Very beautiful things, but I don't know exactly what they are. Just that they like to scare me to death when I least expect it. Now here's Red Pine Lake, everybody. About 9,700 feet up. Close to 3,000 meters. I'll learn how to do conversions better in the future, but you can see the lake level is a little bit low from when it typically is at its peak. And about like 8 to 10 feet below, maybe more even. So it has been a bit of a dry summer recently and going to a dry autumn, so it's probably dried out a bit, but I'm going to try and walk around it, but there might not be much interesting things to show. So let's just carry on. You may see why it's one of the most popular trails in the Wasatch. It's a very scenic place, of course. So here's obviously where the typical lake level is, at least typical high water level. So I'm going to jump down to it and just hike along here for a bit. Give me if I'm really identifying any more plants, just so you guys know. But I want to look more at this because this is interesting to me. See all the woody debris that's normally just sunk to the bottom, because wood can eventually sink if it becomes waterlogged. Or maybe it's not like that and it will all float to the surface next year when it refills. But anyways, it's all littering the former lake bottom right here. Check out. This is a little more tricky than I thought it'd be. Oh. Very beautiful. I guess that goes without saying. I should probably stop stating the obvious all the time on this channel. You can sort of tell a lot of these, I think, were buried in the lake too because of how bleached they are in color. It's all sort of gray, and part of it's being covered in like lake dust. But yeah, you can really see the high water mark right on these rocks too. ordinary high water mark. That's a better determined water level because it's what the Army Corps of Engineers use when it's delineating bodies of water that it protects. Of course, those rules have been very much gutted and upended recently, so that's a bit of a shame. I could probably make a video about that at some point, talking about the Sackett, or EPA versus Sackett court ruling last year, because it's completely upended away what can be regulated by the federal government, at least under the current frame of the Clean Water Act. So I think it should be amended to reassert authority over a lot more waterways. But it's a pretty big deal. It's going to have a lot of negative implications, especially in states like Utah that don't really have any state level protections for filling in wetlands and waterways. I'll be wrapping this up pretty soon, but just want to hop and jump over to that area. Remember, I'm doing all this holding a camera and trying to keep it steady and hold in focus and speak coherently and make sure the white balance and autofocus is all good. It's not easy being me, that's what I'm trying to say. I have a really hard life when I make these videos. This is a very muddy lake bottom here. And of course nothing's growing on it because it's almost always just buried by water. Why is the f-stop so high? Like it says at 16 instead of 14, which is what I usually have it at. This is also boring, I'm sorry. This is going to be kind of maybe be a throwaway video, but I had to practice making them and speaking coherently on camera and all that good stuff, because it's really a skill that can be lost easily, I've found myself. There's a great twin peaks on the other side, and there's several twin peaks. No, actually, I think there's a twin peak on the behind Lone Peak. Never mind, whatever it is. Tallest mountains in the that sort of crest of with the ridgeline between big and little Cottonwood Canyons. All right, see you guys next time.